not slovenly. I'm wearing the colorful native garb of my people, the astronomers. So now, the top of a volcano, even in the middle of Hawaii, even in August, can be a cold and dry place with no air. You're 5,000 feet above the cloud deck, and it's pretty brutal. It's unpleasant, you know. But it's what we do when you have to get out there in the world and get behind a telescope. You know, that's where they keep them. So that's where we go. So we go to Hawaii. And my colleagues and I, we went up to the top of the mountain. Now, we'd been working a little longer than we were supposed to. You're supposed to spend maybe just a couple hours at the top of the mountain when you're first getting used to the high altitude. But things were working, so we were really carrying on. And now, remember the part about cold and dry, I've been drinking cranberry juice all afternoon and all evening. I'm just sucking them back. It felt good. It felt tasty. Well, about 1 in the morning, we were thinking maybe it's time that we should perhaps leave. But there were a few things left to do, so I was helping Jeff. He was working on one of our laser systems. Now, see, we went there to observe Jupiter. We use these lasers in our instrument, and we have to cool them with, well, you probably don't care about the details, but we got lasers, important lasers. And I was there helping Jeff, but I didn't have much to do, and I looked down, and there was a half bottle of cranberry juice. And at times like that, 1 in the morning, you know, you're tired, you get to thinking, you get to have questions. Questions like, is that my bottle of cranberry juice? I'm pretty sure it's my bottle of cranberry juice. I thought I left a half a bottle of cranberry. That's got to be my bottle of cranberry. It could be his bottle, but if I drink it, it'll be funny, and I'll feel better. So I grabbed it, and I slugged it back. And at that point, I got an inkling that this might have been a mistake, when Jeff said, whoa, 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 whoa. What's that you're drinking? What's this cranberry juice? It doesn't taste very good. And it's got chunky bits. And he looked at me, and he looked at the bottle, and we looked at the laser with that green coolant down there in the bottom of that glass tube, and we looked at it again. And I may have said something bad. And then we decided to distract ourselves from my impending doom. So we conferred, you know, how much antifreeze you think we got. We talked about it for a minute. Said, okay, excuse me, I gotta go talk to Ted. So I went off to the other room to talk to our mentor, Ted. And I went out there, and Ted, you know, remember, working observatory, respected colleagues out there observing Jupiter themselves, doing things. Ted's talking to telescope operators. Excuse me, Ted, what happens if you drink about, say, 2 tablespoons of pure antifreeze? You die. Excuse me, I have to go induce vomiting. Because I figure, you know, now that I know that I'm going to die because I was stupid, I can at least show a little class in the face of my doom. So off I go to the bathroom to, you know, I've heard about this thing you stick your finger in. It's really hard to do that, it turns out. It's hard to persuade yourself. And then people would keep coming by the bathroom and yelling through the door helpful things like, Tim, I read on the label here, it says induce vomiting. Got that covered. Then they came by and said, hey, Tim, we called the poison hotline. Oh, good. What'd they say? Well, they didn't answer. At which point I discovered my motivation. And let me tell you, when you are motivated, you can get practically your whole arm back and wounds and stuff. Frank, as a scientist, I got curious, but still, I can also tell you that if you've been drinking antifreeze if you've been drinking cranberry juice all afternoon and you start to have some success in this department, the color can be a little disturbing. And they came back and they said, well, we called the hospital to find out what they said. And what did they say? They said we should get down there. Now, did you tell them we're on the top of Mauna Kea? You know, we're at the NASA Infrared Telescope Facility. We're at the top of the mountain. We can't really get there too fast. He said, yeah, they're going to send an ambulance. Again, the 40 miles away, 14,000 feet, they're going to send 2 ambulances. Well, that'll help. So we went outside, we got in the car, and we started driving down the mountain, 3 miles of paved road, 6 miles of dirt road, and we're grinding our way down the mountain, and Jeff is on the phone trying to call on the cell phone. Now, you're not supposed to use cell phones up there, and so it keeps dropping in and out of working. He's calling the hospital, giving him this completely useless play-by-play on our way down, because, you know, he thinks he's responsible for killing me, which I would tell him he was. Anyway. And as we were driving down the mountain, we got past the dormitories, and we kept going. We could see ambulances down there in the valley between the mountains. There were little lights going, beep, beep, Driving along, we got one from the military base one way, we got one from Hilo General Hospital the other way. It was kind of fun watching which one was going to get there first. Oh, military guys win. We got down there, we joined the military ambulance. I hopped in the back. It turns out the military ambulances for war games are pretend ambulances. All they've got is basically benches in the back. And the Corps woman, she's taking my blood pressure. That's the one piece of medical equipment they have. Outside, I can hear Jeff saying, see, we use these lasers in our instrument, and we have to cool them with water, and they've got antifreeze. Do you care why we have lasers? No, not really. Okay. And so we drove down the mountain, and then we met the Hilo Hospital ambulance. That was great, until I tripped climbing out of the back of the ambulance and sort of sailed through the air, superhero-like, until I encountered the ground, and oh, that was not good. But I protected that jug of antifreeze that I was carrying with me, because as anybody can tell you, if they've ever watched, I don't know, public service announcements or something, they need to have a sample of poison, or they don't know how dead you're going to be. So I had my jug of antifreeze. They threw me in the back of the ambulance, and I could hear outside, see, we have these lasers that we use at the top of the mountain. We have to cool them with it. We have antifreeze. Do you care why we have? No, not really. The one other question, though, I did also hear was, now, was this intentional? So he drove us down to Hilo. Now, that's really entertaining, because as bad as the dirt road was, the paved road is worse. And we're driving down this paved road at 50 miles per hour, and I got Wayne, the ambulance attendant, saying, now, I'm just putting these electrodes on you just in case you have a seizure. That makes me feel good. Now, I'm going to put this IV in the back of your hand, just in case. You're going to put a what in my what? I'm going to put an IV needle in the back of your hand. And it was amazing. That guy, if you ever have to get an IV in the back of your hand, I recommend Wayne, the ambulance attendant, in Hilo General. Good. Just harpooned me right there. We got down to the hospital. They did not let me walk out of the back of the ambulance myself. They took me out on a stretcher. They took me inside. Doctor comes up. Hi, I'm Dr. Fitzgerald, and you're really lucky. How am I lucky? You're really lucky, because at least you've got a doctor who comes from someplace with weather, so I know what to do about antifreeze poisoning. Tallahassee. She says, well, the treatment for antifreeze poisoning is that we are going to have to get you drunk. Really? You don't say. She says, yes, well, see, what happens is the antifreeze is going to destroy your kidneys, and then you will either, if you are unlucky, die, or if you are lucky, you get to have a lifetime of dialysis. But if we start treating now, maybe not. Oh, that feels good. So I'm lying here on the bed, and they come to hook up a little tube to the back of my hand, and they say, now here's the thing. Since we're going to put that alcohol in you and all that, we're going to have to check your output. Oh, all right. I said, that's fine. I can go in a bucket. No, we're going to have to put you on the urine meter. What? Really? I'm responsible this way. I can take care. No, I'm free. And so at this point, Nurse Dave comes in. He says, so, man, you're going to have a catheter. Yeah, thank you. Is it going to hurt? Don't know, man. Never had one. Lying bum. So he came back in a little bit. He had this little tray of things, and he put between my knees, and he tears this off, and he squirts that, and he pulls out the thing, and he goes, shoop, shoop, shoop. And then he said, now there's always a part where this gets a little harder. Oh, good. I didn't want to see what Nurse Dave was doing there, so I decided that perhaps the ceiling would be a good place to look. So I looked at the ceiling for a bit, and I could see that Dave was doing something. And then I had a definite perception that he was committing a grave indignity of some sort. And then I was suddenly inspired to say an extremely bad word with great vigor and emotion. And he said, that's it! And then out of the corner of my eye, I saw his elbow working like mad, and I did not want to think about what he was doing. Well, after a bit, he finally finished that, and I was thinking, oh, sweet alcohol, please give me your numbing embrace. But it hadn't really gotten to me yet. But eventually, I got kind of a little loopy. That was good. My colleagues, meanwhile, who had come down following the ambulance, they had gone out to Ken's House of Pancakes, only place that's open at, by that point, 3 in the morning in Hilo. They had come back with my order, Belgian waffles, tossed that in my lap. No, thank you. And they were sent off. They said, we're going to have to keep them here for hours and hours yet. You better just get back up there to the observatory. So, they kept me there for a few hours. And they took me up to the intensive care unit. And they got up to the intensive care unit, and things were nice and quiet and sleepy. And by now, finally, yes, the alcohol had begun to work. You know, you're not supposed to pray for these things, but when Nurse Dave has done a grave indignity on you, it's the only thing you have to look forward to. And they took me up there, and I met two nurses, and they ignored me entirely. They didn't ask me questions like, so, how are you feeling? They were just talking. They said, well, his output looks good. Yes, I'm saying, yes, my output is fine. And I told them, I think we could take out the urine meter. Yes, I told them they could. By the way, are you going to do this quickly or... Oh! Then I had the answer to my question. And after a few hours, still up there, dropping in and out of sleep, a doctor came by, a new doctor, and he said that, well, we were going to have to keep you here for a few days, keeping you drunk the whole time. I said, well, I have a family history of alcoholism. That bothers me a little bit. Do you have any advice on what I should do? He said, you might not want to have a drink for a couple of days. Gee, that really helps. That makes me feel a lot better. Well, a few hours after that, he came back and informed me that they finally got a kidney expert, and they explained to him how much antifreeze I had actually consumed. And the fellow on the other end of the line started laughing at them and said, kick that moron out of there. And so I got eventually, by that point, dried out and sent back up to the top of the mountain and basically healed up. Everything was fine. I didn't have to go to my grave knowing, God, I was stupid enough to die. When I got back to the hospital the next week in the emergency room, I saw Dr. Fitzgerald, and I said, hi, Dr. Fitzgerald, I'm your poisoning from last week. And she said, oh, are you here for the bicycle accident on the mountain? Oh, no. I said, that was my boss. It was my bicycle, but that was my boss. But I do like to think that I've had three real long-standing results from this activity. First of all, of course, I am now... in my own tiny little professional field, I am famous as the moron who drank antifreeze at the observatory. And that really feels good. Also, all of the medicine cabinets at the top of the mountain now are all furnished with syrup and ipecac, so you don't have to stick your finger back there if you need to go through it. And finally, all of the telephones now have the poison hotline on speed dial. And if my stupidity has saved but one life, it must have been worth it.